Let's talk about the Pies, because the issue with the ruck stocks now is important, because I know you flagged Darcy Cameron weeks and weeks ago on the player that he could potentially be. Now, his potential, you are being justified in that. What do you do with Grundy when he comes back? This is the elephant in the room at Collingwood.
It is, and it will persist because right now, the setup is working really well, and Collingwood are in good form. They're in really strong form. The back half is holding up really well. They have a really strong midfield, and they've got some dynamic scoring youth that's coming through. But the ruck role in particular, like Coxie's played better footy. Now Coxie's a forward who is a perfect second ruck, really. So that's his role. Darcy Cameron's a number one ruckman, and Brodie Grundy's a number one ruckman. At various stages, we looked at, if Brodie rucks for 85% of game time and then he rests for the rest of it, that's okay. Then Darcy Cameron has to be a 70% forward who rucks for 15 or less. But it's not like Max Gawn and Luke Jackson, for instance. Those two guys have both proven that they can go forward, that they take marks and that they impact as forwards and they hit the scoreboard, or they create spills for their ground level players. Darcy Cameron has done that a little bit. Broads, we have tried to play him as a forward.
With limited success?
It hasn't. The penny hasn't dropped yet. That doesn't mean it can't, but the penny hasn't dropped yet. He's probably a little bit more free form, likes it through the midfield, creative positioning and a possession getter than he is the structured sort of down the line sort of tall forward. So it's not as if it hasn't been attempted, and that doesn't mean it's not going to work either, because it takes time and things have to come together. But right now, Collingwood are looking in shape, in form, roles are established. Darcy Cameron as the number one ruckman, Mason Cox as the forward who pinch hits. If and when, and it will happen, Brodie is fit and ready to go, the decision that the coaching staff needs to make is going to be really interesting.
The contract does come into it, doesn't it? Like, you can't have, I don't think you can have a guy with 5 years left at $5 million not playing or playing a bit part role. He would want to be the guy.
Well, of course he would want to, but the short answer is...
So what's the conversation you're having with him?
The short answer is, of course you can. That you don't have... Nothing has to be a particular way. List management and the way that contracts are set up and what players are on is not relevant to putting your best team out in the park this week.
So do you have that conversation with Brodie Grundy now about how you're foreseeing his role when he comes back in, and I guess broaching that with him?
I'm not sure whether
would you, or would you wait until?
I mean, that's an uncomfortable conversation to take place. Now, Darcy Cameron could injure himself next week, and all of these hypotheticals that you throw up are irrelevant. Mason Cox, might go down, and there's no real depth. Outside of Brodie Myercheck, who just is a battering ram and keeps, and he's an undersized key forward, but he's very effective key forward. And then Coxie, there's no one underneath that for Collingwood. So at the moment, they need all hands on deck in terms of tall stocks. So Brodie Grundy's coming in with a guy who's performing the number one ruck role really well and always had the capacity to, and we have played him in that role at times. We've tried to go 50-50. The Collingwood have tried to go 50-50 with Cameron and Brodie at times. But that dynamic is going to evolve. But I don't know what Craig McRae will do. I don't know what the coaching staff will do. Do they look at the short term and say, no, we actually like our mix at the moment, and Broads, you got to come back through the twos? Or do they say, no, we want to give it another run. We want to give it another run with trying to play Cameron and Grundy as 50-50 first ruck and give them 25-30% each as a forward and see if that works for us. Yeah. And Cox goes out. That dynamic becomes really important. But one thing I would suggest is that it's really hard for the contract and the list management part of it not to be a part of the decision and a part of the psyche, because we all have egos, and you know, if you ask Brodie to play in the twos, he's not going to be happy.
No.
But if you tip a player out who's playing your role and playing it as well as you expect it to be played right now, and they play twos, they're not going to be happy. Just because one's on, I don't know, 850 and the other's on 350, that doesn't mean they're going to be any more or less disappointed for not playing ones or twos. So you've got to treat it. You've got to treat every person equally, regardless of the contract that they're on, first and foremost. And you've got to reward them for what they're contributing to the team, regardless of the contract that they're on.